You're about to watch the recording of Esports Journalism Masterclass. My name is Maxim Terekhin. I'm WePlay Holding Esports PR Lead. I will be joined by outstanding professionals, whom I will introduce in just 1 minute. First, I'd like to explain how this masterclass has happened. Some of you watching this already know about WePlay Academy League, organized to help grow young talent in CSGO. As a matter of fact, the final day of the event started shortly after this webinar. If you hear any odd sounds coming from mine or my colleagues' microphones, it's because we were making this from a venue that was about to go live. We thought that WePlay Academy League is an excellent opportunity to discuss not only the question of helping young players, but also help people who aspire and strive to work in esports. Our PR team reached out to the journalists who we are actively working with and offered to participate in this masterclass. And they will share their knowledge and hopefully help those who wish to start or are already on the path of esports journalism. I will now introduce the guests and we will get started. These people will help you become more efficient with a range of skills, all of which are required for a successful career as an esports journalist. Andreea Esanu, senior editor at GosuGamers. Arseny Kuzminsky, journalist at WePlay Esports. Kalle Strömgren, editor at Fragbite. Tom Daniels, sub-editor at Esports Insider. The QR codes near the people's names lead straight to their Twitter accounts. You can give them all a follow and perhaps even reach out after watching this masterclass. First up on the stage, Andreea Esanu from GosuGamers, sharing her experience and techniques working in an offline event. Now, let's get started.
Decide from before coming to a LAN what kind of interviews you want to do. Most likely at the LAN, you won't be able to do long-form interviews. And it's not recommended because the players don't have the time to stay with you 30 minutes, 40 minutes to talk about their history. On LAN, on-site interviews are probably 5 to 15 minutes if you're lucky. 15 minutes, it's already an extreme case to talk to a player after a match. 5 to 10 minutes are in the interviews that you will record or go live on Facebook, although that's another topic. Not everyone accepts live coverage for media. They will do it for the tournament organizer gladly, but not for any outlet or for a beginner. So at home, decide what kind of interview you want to do. Prepare a set of questions, but I mean, of course, you can't really prepare everything, but have in mind a general line where you want to go with the interview. Let's say you want to interview simple, you have this idea. Well, if you're a beginner, Navi might not give you simple to begin with that. They might give you somebody else from the team. But if you want to do that and you are 100% you want to do that, you can do that. Think about opening questions, because a lot of the times we see even super experienced journalists opening the interview with, you just won this game or this map. How do you feel? Every time the answer will be the same. So be smart about your openings. Give the player time to take a breath and adapt, or get acquainted with the person next to him. And don't rush things. Let him finish his idea. Listen to him. That's probably one of the most important things in interviews. Give him time to finish his sentence, to finish his idea, listen, and that will help you to come up with follow-up questions, to be present in the interview. I've seen through 3 years, I've seen even people who are super prepared for this coming to the interviews with a stack of with a pile of papers, or with a phone or something, a tablet where they have the questions prepared and just not listening. So I'm doing an interview. I will use Kalle next to me. I'm just doing an interview with Kalle. I'm asking him, so tell me a bit more about your travel here. And while he's replying to me, responding to the question, instead of looking at him and listening to what he says, I'm just going through my phone and see what the next question is, and this gives such a bad signal to him. He understands that I'm either not prepared, not interested in what he wants, in what he replies, and sets a very bad chemistry between you and your interviewee. It's already hard to build a chemistry with the person next to you for a 5 minutes interview. That's why I'm telling you, do your best to listen and pay attention to what he says. Another thing that you might see in interviews every now and then is, if you do a camera interview, make sure that the microphone, if you don't have like a wireless microphone to record this, or to broadcast the interview, and you have to record it with something wired, make sure that your hand is not closing the angle with the camera. There's a super small thing, so your interview should always be like that. Keep the microphone with the hand next to the person next to you. These are super small things that 99% you won't learn in school, or if you learn them or somebody told you about them, it would be in your first, second year, and by the time you go to the LAN, you'll forget about them, and you'll just do this mistake at your first interview. It happens. Of course, this is why we're here, and we are trying to just make you aware of these super small things. Another thing for on-site interviews, and even in these times with Corona and everything, we had to do a lot of Zoom or Discord recordings, with the players. Make sure you are there, even it's either it's in person on site or on a Zoom call. Be there 5-10 minutes before. Make sure that your audio works. Do a test with yourself, make sure that the lighting is good. Make sure that the setup behind or around you is good, because nobody hates anything more than spending 15 minutes, 20 minutes to do an interview and discover that the voice is not recorded, or the image is broken, or you can't go to the player and say, hey, sorry, we have to redo this. Probably you're lucky if he accepts. Most of the time he will say sorry, maybe some other time, and this is time wasted. You'll get in trouble with your chief editor-in-chief and so on. Oh, it's just easier to take the time and do all this prep work. Also know on-site, it happens a lot of times to discover, in Dota, at least for me, I'm telling you from experience, it's super hard to interview some players, because they are super tall and it will look stupid no matter what you do. So make sure that you are, again, able to adapt. If you are to interview Poppy or Synderen or Saxa, I will just give Dota examples right now because that's my main area of coverage. You most likely will be way shorter than them because they are 2 meter plus, 202. So for that, you have to be always prepared to have a chair, or to have a setup especially designed for that. I've seen people standing on a chair just to interview Poppy, for instance, because this is how big the difference is. And unless you incorporate it in a super special segment, funny thing, and make it work, it will look stupid. It will put the player in a bad light and you in a bad light. And speaking about putting the players in a bad light or something like that, understand or accept the idea that when you're doing an interview, you are not the star. The person next to you is the star. And it should always be him and about him, not about you. Your job there is to be prepared, professional, know what you're talking about. Don't adventure into super technical questions or into areas that you might not feel comfortable, because that will translate in how you ask the question, in how the player understands what you want from him, and in general it ends bad, So just be honest with your coverage, with your questions, be genuinely interested to find something out from that player or manager or whoever is next to you, tournament organizer, and be honest, Don't try to be somebody else or fake your knowledge or fake your expertise, because it will show. Camera is like the camera sees everything. You can't hide, lie, or fake things in front of the camera, because people are watching, you will see, and it's not playing well, trust me. So be honest, be frank, and be genuinely interested in talking with that person. That are three things that I think are always like a super guide for you. I've seen a lot of people at the beginning of the career coming with preset conceptions, or like with mindset. I saw action slugs, or I saw I don't know, machine from CSGO doing this and this and that, and asking this and this and that the players. Understand that you are not on the same position with the players. You don't have the same background. Yes, Sir Action Slugs or Anders or James Banks can ask some things, because they have the background story with the players. They come from a different background, and the chemistry and the relation is different. But for most of the players, you are a stranger if you are at the beginning. So don't force things. Don't force a meme. Don't force a quote. Be natural and let them give you the content. Don't force it. For now, this is all I'm going to tell you about online practices or do's and don'ts in the interviews. But while WePlay takes this super initiative to have esports journalism classes, I would also like to announce that GosuGamers is also planning on journalism masterclass. I can't give you too many details, but I'll let you know that there will be two types of classes or of courses, if you want. A basic class where you have an access to 6 to 8 hours pre-recorded guides, and a mentorship program that will give you so much more. Just follow GosuGamers on Twitter, Facebook, stay in touch, and you'll find out much more about that in sometime in October, hopefully at the beginning of October. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll pass the microphone to Kalle, I guess.
Thank you, Andreea. I still have a question to you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
How do you feel the process of preparation and then the process of actually taking interview differs between doing it with a player and with a talent? Are there some things that people need to consider while preparing for one or the other?
When you say talent, you mean the casters,
yeah,
analysts? Yes, of course. There are very different things, although they might sound or feel the same. But when you talk with a caster or with an analyst, he will be able to give you a much more objective or blunt or less emotional feedback to what happened in a game. For instance, let's say some team wins, I don't know what map, let's say Mirage, and you talk to their one of their players, and you ask him how they enter that map, and he will just tell you super technical things, or something that really is fresh in his mind, while the caster will give you a much, or the analyst will give you a much more detailed and broad picture of how they got into the point to win the map. Also, the casters have very different stories, backgrounds, and when you prepare for that, you can go with them through many other subjects, not just what happens right there on the spot. The casters might have been also commentating their qualifiers or their group stage. You can talk to them about the teams in general, how they fare against each other, as I said, actually in my speech, he will be able to talk to you about possible rivalries and things like that, while the players, the teams might not want to comment on their opponents, or just give you a super straight and common answer. We are prepared for that team. We know what they are playing. We are feeling good. We are going with confidence against them. Those are super standard answers that you will get from the players, while with the casters, you most probably be able to actually discuss, a head-to-head matchup. I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. If anyone else has questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens. Andrea, you said you were giving the microphone to Kalle, but I randomly put in the names in some other order. Like I didn't like pick and choose who goes first, who goes last. It was just a random thing. And next up goes Arseny, if you don't mind. Kalle will also have...
If it interrupts, Kalle can continue, no problem, really. Or should I?
Well, go ahead, you.
Yeah, just go ahead. Arseny, I believe you have like your own presentation, which
yes,
okay.
I do.
Okay, I will then free this cyberspace to you. Stop share.
Wow.
And yeah, now you should be able to swoop in and take it away.
Yes. Hello. Hello once again. My name is Arseny Kuzminsky, and I'm a journalist at WePlay Esports. And today I will tell you, I guess there's a, I'm gonna, whoop, now it doesn't bother us. So yeah, today I'm gonna tell you a story. Half a week ago, Max approached me and asked if I would like to take part in a journalist masterclass. I said, okay, no problem. But I had to consider my specific story because I didn't know what to talk about really. And I thought, well, okay, I knew a little about storytelling. I'm not that deep into that, but why not do a little research and tell everyone what I got from that? So Max said, okay, and we're on. And I started thinking, well, what the hell is storytelling, how it works, and why people love it, and why do they use it, and etc., etc. And so I started digging. And I found out first through scientific researches and marketing researches from Forbes, Alida, Twitter, and Headstream, that our audience, the Gen Zers or the millennials, who are mostly the esports content consumers or players, they want to see positive stories. And the difficult part with this is that we only have 8 seconds to grab a Gen Zer's attention and 12 seconds for millennials, but let's make it 10 average. So we have to do something incredible in 10 seconds to attract. But if we do, they're all ours, and they will most definitely share the story that they are reading, watching, etc. Almost, I mean, 44% of the people that were taking part in the research said that they will share the story, which is almost the guy next to you. So, okay, I thought, how the hell is storytelling working? I went to some scientific sites, and the easiest and the quickest explanation was that we just share emotions through neurons. And the researchers from Journal of Cognitive Neuroscience made a research years ago. It's not that modern, but it still works because it's science. Well, they asked people, they gathered people, they told them to a little story, just a part, and they asked them to draw and to develop this story by drawing and writing more. And through MRI system, tool, I don't know how to name this thing properly, they understood that which parts of our and these people's brain work mostly. And theory of mind parts, which means that people who were working on the stories, they thought about the characters, the main characters of the story. I mean, intentions, motivations, beliefs, emotions, and actions, which is feelings. And the results of this research show that people approach narrative in a character-centered way, in a psychological manner. They don't care about the details or the scenery or the other parts of the plot. They care about psychological and mental things. So that's why I'm asking you to think of a story about a fisherman who rescues a boy from a freezing lake. Just spend a couple of seconds about that. The thing is, when we create a story, if it's a good story, it has to trigger alchemy in our minds. The three most important chemicals: dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocins. They all are mixed up with different emotions and feelings and parts of our brain. It's really, really complicated, and I should spend a lot more time that we have explaining how it works. But if we use all of these three parts, if we can trigger these three chemicals, the story will be almost ideal. You can read the story, or you can read it afterwards, or you can talk to me. But I just sat there and I tried to write my own story about a fisherman who saved a boy from a lake. And it was kind of difficult because to trigger all these three chemicals, I had to like really, really work on this text. It wasn't that easy. But the interesting part is why, when we are telling a story, people share our feelings, our emotions, and that works thanks to mirror neurons. You see, scientists a long time ago discovered these mirror neurons by experiments on monkeys. You see, when a monkey gets a banana, a neuron fires. So a monkey knows it's going to eat a banana, it's going to be cool, nice. Next time, when a monkey sees a banana in a scientist's hand, it's not even eating it, it's not even smelling it or opening it. We might not even give the banana to a monkey, but the very same neuron fires again. And in the precisely same way works the mirror neurons in people's heads. I mean, our humans' heads. When we are telling a story to people, to a person, we are establishing a neuronical emotional bridge, because you trigger emotions in other people's heads and other person's head. And this is why, by emotions, this is why we memorize better when we are hearing a story, better than when we are reading a story. I mean, stats, for example, or anything else. And the funniest part is that the quintessence of storytelling in the 21st century is Instagram stories. It's pretty cool how Facebook, I don't remember who developed Instagram, but on the first, I mean, originally, but it's a genius move, because you have 15 seconds of a video or a picture, which is more than average 10 seconds for millennial or Gen Zers to share a story. It's even called stories. For example, I saw a picture of my friend on an Instagram story. He posted that he's lying on a seashore. And I thought, first, oh, he's having a vacation. Second, he's having a vacation in a relaxing style. Third, I should not bother him in a week or two because he's relaxing and he's having his time away from busy days. And fourth, I envy because I want to go there too. And it's cool. Isn't it cool? By just one picture or one video, 12 to 10 seconds length, we can share a story and we can establish a bridge, emotional. And storytelling basically is in our nature. We started from it. We shared experience. We shared our skills through storytelling. We tried to build great things through storytelling. We were a part of something unimaginably emotional, I mean, with religion, through storytelling. And it works more than anything else. But the thing is that it's not that easy to be a good storyteller, to storytell at all. Because even though people like to listen to stories, because we all do, even though stories help us to memorize better, even though this is crazy romantic to tell a story, it's really a tough job. Because no one likes a bad story. No one likes when you're expanding it too much. No one likes when you tell a story that has no meaning. And the most important fact that the story must be truth. Also, one important part about the storytelling is that since you're telling a story, it's not about you, it's about the story, unless this is a story about you, right? So you have to tell a story to a person without any of your emotions. I mean, of your emotions about this story. This is how a storytelling should be done. And this is why we should avoid conclusions and morals in stories, because it's always interesting to find out yourselves what the morale is, isn't it? Because, for example, me, I like movies with the so-called open endings, when you don't have any solution, any answer in the end. When you have to think of it, think of a movie like The Inception, the Legend of the Green Knight that came out recently. You have to think yourself and let people think about your stories. Well, why we even are here? Because I'm gonna, in a short way, try to tell you how to combine esports journalism with storytelling. I unfortunately I've been in esports journalism for 3 years. It's not that much, but I haven't seen a lot of storytelling in it. It's kind of rare, to be honest. Maybe I missed a lot, maybe not, but I'm not telling about the original writing journalism. I'm telling about the video content and the audio content, etc., etc. But you can storytell anywhere, and I lack stories in esports. To do so, journalists should only do his job, not his one's job. You have, for example, you have some cool information that you can do as a news article. It's amazing, it's cool, and my editor-in-chief, Alex Park, once said that we should not just post news, we should make a story. And this is a hell of advice, because a story adds value to the news we're describing, we're talking about. Also, you can make the information that you have, the news that jumped out of nowhere, interesting to readers, to viewers, to listeners by adding context. So a story can help you. And when creating stories, when doing storytelling, you should be aware that you have huge responsibility on your shoulders, because a journalist is a profession of truth. And when people read something from a branded, from a post, from a journalist, from a branded organization and company, doesn't matter, from a YouTube channel with a lot of subscribers, they believe what people say. And I hate to read bull crap that I see on the internet when people just are lazy enough to not to check what they're posting, what they're talking about, what they're sharing with their audience. You have to always dig more information and make sure that what you are talking about is truth, because people believe you. And the saddest part for me about storytelling is that a picture or a video is a story also, and it's a better story than text, unfortunately. Simply because people, because pictures and videos are more attractive, and people would love to spend 2 seconds on watching a cool picture with stats than reading a 10-minute length or 5-minute length text about these stats. That's why we have headlines to attract people's attention, but you know, headlines could be tricky also. And so my most important advice and idea of all of this thing that I was talking about is that we should create stories. That a journalist can, I sincerely believe that any journalist can dig up a story from any stat. You can combine stats, you can combine data, you can combine information, you can find something, ask people, and you will create a story. And it will be more interesting, and it will gather more views, more clicks, etc. I honestly love to create stories, and that's what I'm trying to do with my every text, with every piece of content that I make, and I don't know. I just believe that people who are out there who are trying to learn journalism will understand what I'm talking about. But the most important thing is not always that you will have the power in yourself, the energy to build a story that will be mind-breaking, an amazing story. Sometimes it could be little ones, but it's okay. It's no problem, really, no big deal. Just try to tell about a journey, about a trip, about a road trip where a car moves through canyon and it is a gas station. It has scenery. The music from the radio is quite topical. The hot dog is cool, and you like the cold cola. Just talk about the journey and try to put it from end when you start the engine to the end, from the beginning when you start the engine to the end when you pull the key off. So it will not have anything from beyond. And that's all. I think I'm done. Just a couple of annoying things that I've told you. I'm going to stop my translation. If you have any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Arseny. That was great. It's it reminded the Frozen Lake story. It reminded me of the Photoshop battles that they have on Reddit, and we can do like story battles. Like League of Legends, Dota 2, and CS:GO players go to a bar and hear a scream, and go do story on that. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will go back to sharing what I had. One sec. Share. Okay. Now we should be back in my realm. Now I'm king of this webinar again. Okay. Thank you very much. Next up on the stage, Kalle Strömgren, with his story about staying competitive when you're a local website. Kalle, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, firstly, just to introduce myself, I'm Kalle from Sweden. I grew up in it was a really boring place. It's an island that translates to, the name is Öland, it translates to island land. So it's not that fun. So we have to do other things like play games. So I started to play CS like 15 years ago, tried to play competitive in like 2015, play with some okay players like JC Walkings and mixed around with Hampus, who's now in NIP. But it didn't come to fruition, so I started to study TV journalism instead in the north of Sweden. But I dropped out after 2 years because I got the opportunity to start at Fragbite, and I've been there for 3 years now. For those who don't know who Fragbite is, it's one of the oldest esports sites in the world, actually continuously running from 2002, and has been the biggest esports site in Sweden and I think in the entire Nordic region ever since then, and mainly focusing on Counter-Strike, but also other esports from time to time. But we only write in Swedish. So our main problem is, how do we stand out from the masses? And I think it mainly boils down to 2 points. You have to localize and personalize. So I'm going to talk about localizing first, and what I mean by that. It's a couple of things. We have known for a really long time that we can't compete with sites like HLTV. They have people around the world. They're going to write news about player transfers, about match reports a lot quicker than we do. And Swedish people are very good at English. I'm not myself that good, but other people are good at English. So they're going to be fast. They're going to see that on HLTV before we write about it. So we have to do something different to be interesting to our readers. So if, let's say, a North American team in CSGO changes a player, how can we do a Swedish twist on that? We know that Golden and Flusha have played in the US. Olofmeister lost the grand final to Cloud9 in the Boston Major. Can we, in some way, make the news have something about them instead of just the player transfer? Do a local twist on everything. But that's not the only thing. There are a lot of things. I believe in my own ability, and I think I could write like a great article on why team spirit plays a great T side against certain teams and not against other teams. But a boring fact is none of my readers will probably read that, because that is not interesting to them. It is much more interesting for them to hear about the local scene, which is Sweden in my case. So they're not going to be interested if Spirit beats G2 in ESL Pro League, if not someone does a crazy highlight. But they are going to be interested in a team like Lil Mix, who's like ranked 5th in Sweden right now, if they win a qualifier to a like tier 3 event. That is going to be more interesting to our readers. But we also have to go even lower down the tiers. We have our own league, Frag League, and there's also our competitors, the Swedish Elite Series. And there is where we have our most important players, in my opinion. Those are the players who are the next talents in the Swedish scene. And it's really much more interesting to know what they are doing, who is going to be the next players. It's becomes the storytelling that Arseny was talking about, because we go from their beginning to the end. And that helps us because we also get connected with these players a lot. So if we go through them when they start playing at like 15 and 16, starting to get their career going, they're gonna know us. We're gonna know them personally if we keep doing interviews with them. So they are probably going to be more likely to go to us when there is a big event happening. I've known Hampus from NIP for like 6 years. Once the real lance gets back going again, if NIP plays a game and let's say me and someone from HLTV tries to get him for an interview directly after the game, he will probably choose me because he knows me. And that's the benefit of having worked with them for a long while. And also it helps these players, if you go when they're young and go into the local scene, it helps them get more recognition. It helps them to know what happens in the future. Just like at this WePlay Academy League, it helps the players know what they can expect when they go on and play the big leagues. And also there's a benefit of writing in your own language and writing about the local scene, because you get to know your system, the system that your country runs. Since I studied journalism, I learned how to use certain tools, like a thing called offentlighetsprincipen. It's basically the principle of openness. So everything in Sweden is very open. You can see everyone's tax report. You can know what your neighbor's salary is. You can also see if anyone has been sentenced to any crimes and things like that. And that has helped us a lot to get special articles that's gonna like blow up Reddit for a day. Like an example is last year I wrote a story about Flusha, who got evicted of tax evasion, and that was no major other publications would have found that, but we managed to find that because we know how to work the system, and we could also like talk to Flusha about it, so he wouldn't get too mad at us for posting it. But it's since we're Swedish, we're able to go into the Swedish system and also do more interesting things and personalize. What do I mean by this? A lot of journalists wants to just be a journalist, and they don't think their face or their name is important. And yeah, I guess in some cases that's true, but in esports it's the opposite. It's very important to your face, and your name is super important for a couple of reasons. First, you establish yourself as someone as your readers or viewers can trust. If you write about rumors or reports, they need to trust you. I don't think that many people in the CSGO scene trust like Twitter accounts like Danish CSGO leaks if they don't get everything perfect. But your credibility reaches if they see your face everywhere, they see your name everywhere, they're gonna know who you are. So they're gonna believe more of what you say if they actually know it and if they trust your publication. And the other thing is more about popularity. And that's kind of strange because I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to be an influencer. But if you do a lot of good quality content, you make a great article, you make good videos, people will eventually start to like you, even if they don't from the beginning. But they will eventually start to like you. And if they start to like you well enough, you might even get to do those super intense articles about Team Spirit's T-side. They might get to actually read that because of you, because they will read they will consume your content not by the content itself, but because you are the one who produced that content. And that is something that is getting more and more important every day, I think. But I'm not saying you should be an influencer or celebrity. You know, people don't come up to me on the street and ask for like selfies, even though I'm pretty okay known in the Swedish scene by now. But people are not, I'm not a celebrity, but if they can trust you and if they like you and you know you make quality content, they're gonna go to the content even if they're not interested in said content, but they're interested in you. Yeah, that's basically all I had to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Kalle. It really has a ring with your what you said has a lot of to do, like has good continuity with what Arseny said.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that random thing with which this this has been put is working out. Yeah. Thank you very much. So next up on the stage, last but not least, Tom Daniels. But wait, I'll give a couple of seconds to show Kalle so that people also have a chance to swipe that Twitter account. Yeah, I've showed the QR code. It will be also on the recording. And now, Tom Daniels. Tom will be talking about delivering interesting, finding and exploring engaging coverage topics. So, Tom, please take it away.
Yes, thank you. First of all, great topics, everybody involved. I do believe that this is probably the quietest I've ever been at one time ever, because I do love to talk, but I will make sure that I'm not too waffly in this presentation. So what I'm going to be discussing is discovering and exploring engaging coverage topics within esports itself. So I thought when I got tasked with this perilous challenge, I thought I needed to split this up into three. So we're going to kind of go into it and dissect it, that entire topic, which I'm going to talk about. So if we go into the first slide now, the first thing I want to kind of talk about is very basic, but what are engaging coverage topics? And that is normally something that is, it's something that sounds so simple when you just say, well, you know, it's just a topic which is interesting, but I think there's so much more which for a journalist to kind of actually see, to find out, okay, how is this topic engaging? The first thing that I think is the most important, in my opinion, is that it's topics that match your audience. And this is no greater of an example than what I do at Esports Insider, which is a purely business esports, like partnerships, investments kind of industry, which we cover. It is completely different than the more traditional coverage, which is, you know, like player interviews, play performances, or even like discussing the titles themselves, or even like analytical kind of gaming websites as well. And the reason why I think that this is the most important is because actually then when we're covering stuff, a player interview for our audience isn't an engaging topic. Like, they don't want to know how a player has performed on a map. Our audience is more engaged with the recent partnerships that, say, Astralis have done, or if there's an investment which has come in, and how is this going to affect it? So I think it's really important for any journalist, whether you're writing freelance, whether you're writing or just literally creating a project on your own, or you're writing for a certain company, research that company that you're writing for, find out actually what that audience is and what actually brings them to that website. And I know that throughout the entire conversation, that has like kind of been an important thing throughout the masterclass, is you're finding that correct topic. Leading on to that, like topics that take a similar story and put it into a different perspective is also engaging. I feel like there is a lot of stories out there which are very similar. And so if you can kind of take this story, you know, like I said, again, for example, like a massive partnership deal, or a player as I know Simple Navi have just announced that about the Simple documentary film and stuff like that. Like, everybody's going to report on a story like that. It's a massive story. If you can then get some research onto that, you've then got an even better topic. Because if you can find out like why that is, or even, you know, from a production standpoint, how was this going to be produced? Like, those little things which you can add onto that story make it more engaging for an audience. Because you've also got to look at the fact that, you know, a lot of these esports organizations are also going to kind of have either written video or announcement videos. And so you want it to be different than that, because you want it to be like, you want them to come to you and not just go to the Twitter of an esports organization if it's going to be the exact same story which is going to be announced. Going on to that again, like I said, it's got to be obviously current, trending, and it's got to discuss a wider point, in my opinion. I think, again, there is a difference between covering a topic and covering an engaging topic. It's got to have something which, from a wider perspective, it means something. Recently, basically every esports organization known to man, woman, everything is cryptocurrency. That is a major topic right now, is that there's a lot of cryptocurrency deals. So, when you're discussing that, make sure that you reference the fact that there is a wider kind of topic which could be done. And that could also lead into another engaging topic through features. Because like one we're speaking right now is like news, but actually by getting all of these topics together, you've also then got a good feature out of it. And then finally, and again, probably the most important thing is topics that you're interested in. If you're not engaged by a topic, then it's going to be very difficult for you to push that to an audience that you're writing about. That doesn't mean that you need to love everything. There's obviously, in journalism, there's going to be certain things that you have a particularly less interest in than others. It doesn't just apply to esports, it applies to everything. But you've got to make sure that you've still found something interesting within that story. Because if you've not, you're not going to get the same amount as what someone who is, a farming simulator league fan. If they're a dedicated farming simulator league fan, they're probably going to make more of an engaging story than someone who doesn't even know what farming simulator is, because that kind of experience and that kind of knowledge and that wherewithal is already there. So to move on to the next one then, how do we discover topics to cover? And so these are like 4 main ways that I would say in terms of like trying to find a topic. If you're just like, right, you're beginning of the day and you're like, I need to find topic to talk about this week, whether that be feature, news. I would say for news specifically, like try and contact PR companies, even if you're a freelancer, or even if you're like I said, creating your own website. There is nothing wrong with finding these PR companies and just asking and just saying, hey, if there's any upcoming news stories, we cover this specific type of thing, send me an email. They may do, they may not. Also, esports organizations as well, it's like, obviously you don't want to be spamming these esports organizations, but if you think that there's a topic which could be interesting and you want to kind of find more about it to make it engaging, reach out to esports organizations. There's nothing wrong with them, saying no at the end of the day. Like, they may be busy, but you never know. You could get that point where it's like, actually, we do want to talk about this. And then you've got something that maybe someone else also hasn't got. For news as well, social media, I've just mentioned it. A lot of esports organizations will say, we've announced this partnership or we have signed this player. Most of the time that is on social media now. In esports specifically, a lot of news comes from social media, and that could also lead to potentially, feature ideas and feature topics, because if you're seeing all these things on social media or people talking about a certain thing on social media, that also means that is an engaging topic. Look at kind of not just the announcement, look at the response from people. If people are talking about it, then there is an opportunity to write a feature length like article or do a video on it or audio or interview someone. There is loads of possibilities for that. If you see people, whether that be for positive news or negative news, at the end of the day, it's all about kind of providing an opinion, providing a voice, but then also making it, worthwhile for the people involved. News services, particularly the one which I actually use for Esports Insider is News Now. I think it's a great kind of collector of all like the biggest news in esports. I always use it as a fail-safe if there's, kind of stories which, sometimes there's a slow day in journalism. It happens, you're not going to have major stories every day. So going to News Now, going to kind of other service providers can keep you updated with one, what's the recent news which is coming through, but then 2, the chances are you're not going to spot everything. And don't be annoyed if you've not spotted everything as well. But actually take a story which maybe is particularly old, put a spin on it, put a different twist, match it to your audience and make it more engaging, whether that be not just covering it as a news story, but then, like I said, doing an overall feature over it. And then finally, and this is more for the business side for Esports Insider when we cover kind of stuff, reports and PRs. And I talk about kind of reports more as in like financial reports. There are stories in basically everything that you find. And when you're looking at PRs as well, don't just take like the first sentence, you know, find out what is engaging to you and what is engaging to your audience and match it up. But in terms of reports, like a lot of companies now are starting to become, especially in esports, like publicly listed companies. And I think for few people don't really know is that when a company becomes publicly listed, they have to give like certain information. And one of the informations is financial reports. We see it with Guild now, give financial reports out. It can be a bit of a pain looking through, you know, sometimes 6-7 pages, but sometimes the best stories are ones where it is kind of hidden a little bit because sometimes they don't want you to see. That's the honest answer. And so it's obviously your job then as a journalist, though, to make sure that those facts are still given and given in a correct way as well. So I would always look at kind of keep an eye on like who is like publicly listed or certain kind of news sites, which maybe these other esports organizations will try and go to more than others. I think those little intricacies can also help you just find a topic which you didn't expect. You know, you didn't expect an organization to make a £500 million loss because they put it in the 4th page of their financial report or something, because they have to put it because they're publicly, but they don't want to really share stuff like that. Like something really interesting, which is actually a big story, which really should be covered. And obviously, you know, that's kind of one part of creating, you know, stories and also obviously doing the journalism. Sometimes it's not always like the best. And obviously I wish that every story was happy-go-lucky and everything like that, but sometimes you also got to cover the bad as well as the good, and that's journalism as well. And don't feel bad for doing that. You know, as long as it's done in the right way, I think that's absolutely fine. And then going on to the third little bit then about that is you found an engaging topic. So how do you utilize that? First things first is whatever it is, use the correct format. You know, whether that be a straight up news article, you think that this is a story which needs to go straight away. You've got this information, push it out on the news. Or whether, like I said, with the cryptocurrency thing, you're like, okay, there's a lot of deals here. We're not going to make a news article on that. Make a feature piece out of it. Whatever information that you've collected from this topic, which you are discussing, it's so important to use it in the right way. Even if it's an interview, is that interview going to be audio? Is it going to be video? Or is it going to be a written interview? There are so many different like little intricacies, and correctly picking the right topic is so important. So when you've got this topic, look at it and think, okay, this is a really engaging written interview, because maybe the person, you know, not everybody is going to be a great speaker on camera or a great speaker through audio. So you look at that and think, actually, this would make more of an engaging written interview, because then I can tell the details behind what is being said and stuff like that. Or you could be like, this guy is so charismatic, why would I put him down and just limit it to just words? Put it on video, put it on audio. Little things like that are so crucial. And also, this is like a kind of a little bit more of an intricacy kind of point, and hopefully this helps people, is let the reader know what they're in for. If you've found an engaging topic, don't put it midway through the article. There are many times when you kind of just see people follow this same format. And the reason why they follow this same format is because everyone else follows it. But like for me, again, for Esports Insider, because we're business related, sometimes our stories are the 6th, 7th thing in an announcement, or the 8th, 9th paragraph, or something which, you know, nobody really talks about. Whether, you know, if it could be like if a player gets transferred, that actually probably isn't our main story. But then if they say like 3rd down, that it's because of this deal which this guy has signed with an agency, that's more of a business related story for us. So for our audience, we would put that up to the top. Also, just little things like just don't hide the news story in your article. If you're ashamed about the topic that you're discussing, you shouldn't be writing about it. Make sure that you let that audience know right from the beginning. You've clicked on this article with the title probably as well in the picture. Here is what we're going to discuss, and then just go detail into it through that. It's so important to let the audience know, because I like I said, with Gen Zs and with millennials, like the same with video, if they don't, if you're just telling a story right at the beginning, they're not going to be interested, and they're not going to read on for the next half of it. Even if the next half is perfect, just got to let people know. And then finally, to conclude all this and put it into one kind of bubble, finding engaging stories is a crucial topic, is crucial in journalism. and also in esports journaling. Just finding these topics, being able to utilize what could be something like a tweet or something like a PR or something that you find on social media, to find these and actually make these engaging is so important. Like I said, that could be telling an immersive story like we've seen with storytelling, informing your audiences about a specific thing that has happened in that sector straight away, or even creating discussions. Sometimes you don't need to have a story which is fully like I said, it could be open-ended. Create a discussion. It is a non-biased kind of way of, here's this sector, everybody talk about it. And sometimes that is also so engaging to an audience. I know I talked a lot about everything, but I do just want to say, thank you everybody for taking my ramblings on. If you do want to kind of know a little bit more about the business side of esports, it is fascinating, investments, partnerships, and everything in between. Then don't forget to go to Esports Insider as well. And like I said, I told you that you left me quiet for about 40 minutes, so I was straight in on this. So and I really appreciate actually coming on as well.
Thank you very much, Tom. This, I guess, is a good segue to start wrapping this up. Actually, a really great part. I especially enjoyed the part where you were speaking about the PR people and the sports organizations. Just want to say, guys, if you are looking for a story, just reach out to us. We will always find something interesting for you. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who has been with us today, and much appreciated. And thank you very much to the speakers today. It's been great to have you. If you want to pick more insights and continue the topic, to learn more about the topics we were covering today, make sure to follow and subscribe to the speakers who have been working and speaking today, and maybe you will learn something else. And you can just go and ask them on Twitter. I'm sure they will be happy to answer. We hope this has been insightful to everyone. And now let's just enjoy the final day of WePlay Academy League, which will begin shortly on twitch.com/WePlayCSGO. Thank you very much, people. Bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.